What's going on, 49er faithful? You are tuned in to the Monday edition of Keeping the Faith. I'm JD, and it's about time, people. It is about damn time. We have actual football this week. The 49ers will be on the turf, on the field at Levi Stadium this Saturday evening for their first preseason game of the 2025 season. All the talk, all the speculation, all the practice reports and camp stats and all that stuff goes out the window this week because there's going to be actual real football that's happening. And I, for one, could not be more excited because I've kind of had it. I've kind of had it just up to here with a lot of the stuff that I've been reading, that I've been seeing. I'm ready for real football to kick off. To be honest with you, I am at the point of the offseason. I am at the point of training camp that I am ready for real football to kick off so that we can actually have an intelligent conversation based on things that are actually happening in games. That's where I'm at. But I'll get into the news of the day, things that have transpired today in terms of injuries and roster maneuverings and whatnot. We will get into that, and we will get into a few other topics that I have on my mind. But real quick, before we really get the show rolling today, just want to say, hey, my bad for missing the last couple of days. We're back, though. We're good to go, and I'm ready. It's a football week, baby. We're here. Football is back, and I, for one, couldn't be more excited. In the meantime, if you are catching this show live and you are participating in our live chat section, otherwise what I like to call the show within the show, drop your ones in the chat so that way I can take roll and I can say what's up and kind of shout out the loyal viewers that are participating in the live chats that we have during all of these live streams. Let's see who we got in the chat. I see Big Brick. Oh no, the chat moved on me. Where are we at? Big Brick 84. He says, "What's up, JD? What's good, faithful? What up, Big Brick? Thank you for tuning in." We got Papa J dropping his ones as well. That's what I'm talking about. Hell yeah. Glad to see you guys back. Thank you for tuning in here on this Monday. It is officially a game week. Like I said, 49ers fans will be able to descend upon the holy ground of Levi Stadium this weekend for the first time this season. You'll get to see the updated video boards in full effect for the first time. You'll get to see the newly constructed team store, all the new features and things, the new bells and whistles around Levi Stadium. The fans will finally get to, sink their teeth into this Saturday night down in Santa Clara. And I'm excited, man. I'm just happy football is back officially. No more practice stuff. And training camp is great. Practice is great. We obviously learn a ton on a day in, day out basis. But for me, there's just been a lot of over-analyzation of a lot of things in training camp this year. I mean, especially when you have so many eyes on training camp, so many people, whether they are, credentialed media, beat writers, national reporters on hand, or you just have, 49er fans sitting in the stands with their cell phones, that post stuff to Twitter and go on YouTube. There's just so many eyes, so many moving parts, so much like hyper focus on what happens on a day in, day out basis down there in training camp. And don't get me wrong, I like that stuff. I appreciate it for what it is, but I feel like there's times where, we as football consumers suffer from paralysis by analysis. I just think sometimes there's just a little bit too much of an analytical approach. What does this mean? What does that mean? Oh, he did this. How does it affect this? Don't get me wrong. There is a time and a place for all that stuff, but sometimes there is just a little bit too much of it. Case in point, the news today that the 49ers cut kicker Greg Joseph. And let's just get into that real quick. I was going to wait and get into this in a minute, but let's get into it now. The Niners cut Greg Joseph today, amongst other players, and we will get to that. But the Niners cut kicker Greg Joseph, and immediately the overreaction on social media is that, oh man, how did Jake Moody keep the job? Oh, the Niners, Kyle Shanahan should be fired. What the hell? Why is Jake Moody still here? Oh no, the sky is falling, right? Like everyone freaked out. Like, how is Jake Moody winning the kicking battle when he didn't make as many kicks as Greg Joseph in camp? Oh my God, everyone pulling their hair out, right? Everyone freaking out. Instead of sitting back, taking a deep breath, and understanding what's actually going on here. The Niners have a ton of injuries on their roster right now. They could not afford to hold two kickers on the active roster, the 90-man roster for training camp at this point. Players are dropping like flies every single day down there in Santa Clara. So when they announced today that they cut Greg Joseph, it just told me, look, they needed to clear up a roster spot. This team has a lot of injuries right now. They need to make sure that they have healthy football players for this preseason game on Saturday. They need to make sure they have enough healthy football players for the joint practice against the Denver Broncos this week on Thursday down at Levi's Stadium. And so, yes, am I necessarily happy that Jake Moody is currently the only kicker on the roster? No, not really. Not particularly, no. But am I just throwing in the towel and saying, oh man, it's Jake Moody's job now? That's not the case. People are forgetting that preseason games are going to be played. Jake Moody's performance in said preseason games still has to occur. And everyone's kind of freaking out, and the frenzy that I saw today over that news kind of irritated me. Like, do you not realize that Jake Moody could go out in these preseason games and look absolutely horrendous? And that is not out of the range of possibility for Jake Moody. He could go out there in these preseason games and really just completely shit the bed. And the 49ers at that point would probably call back up Greg Joseph on the phone and say, you know what, why don't you come on back? You know, I could certainly see that happening. Or going out there on the waiver wire and acquiring another free agent kicker, right? So I don't know why everyone had to freak out today as much as they did regarding Jake Moody. Nothing is set in stone there yet. Now, is Jake Moody getting the preferential treatment because of his third-round pick status? Yes, absolutely, especially considering that the kicking battle appeared to kind of be neck and neck. And in that case, tie goes to the runner. Tie goes to the guy who's been there. Tie goes to the guy who the 49ers have more invested in. So, of course, they went with Jake Moody right now when they're, in a numbers crunch and they had to move on from a second kicker on the roster. It makes total sense. I understand why they did it, right? Do I agree with it? No. But I understand it. And I also know that there's 3 preseason games between now and week 1. A lot can happen. A ton can happen. And who's to say that this team doesn't, begin cutting players in the next couple of weeks, and maybe they bring Greg Joseph back in? That's also a possible, scenario. That could happen. So I just found it a little funny today. The fervor on social media over Jake Moody's supposed win in the kicking competition. Now, is he probably going to be the 49ers kicker week 1? Yes, probably. With him being a third-round pick and this team so reluctant to really move on from him despite all of his struggles, is it the most likely scenario that Jake Moody is kicking for the 49ers come week 1 up in Seattle? Yes. But a lot can happen. Crazier things have happened. So just before everyone freaks out about every little thing, just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and kind of try and look at it from 30,000 feet. Why is this happening the way that it is? That's just kind of my gripe with training camp as a whole, is that everyone kind of lives and dies by every single rep in practice and every single, report that comes out and every maneuver that gets made. There is a lot of time between now and week 1. And I don't know. I just felt some type of way today when that news came down. Am I happy that Jake Moody's here? No, I'm not. But you know what? If Jake Moody goes out in the preseason and nails all of his kicks and looks good, then what? I don't know. I just feel like the overreaction today was kind of silly. I do. I don't know. And I've been wanting to get that off my chest all day. That's, since this morning, since I saw that come down, I just been wanting to get get that off my chest today. So let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Papa J says, JD, I must admit, I was one of those people that was pissed and freaking out about it. Saying that, I think you explained it very well, and I feel a little bit better about it. Good to know, Papa J. Good to know. I understand why people kind of freaked out. Social media will do that to people when you're getting, notifications and no context necessarily, and even Kyle Shanahan today in his press conference after practice went to say, we just couldn't carry 2 kickers right now. So I'm so glad that it didn't linger out there for very long for people to freak out about, because Kyle Shanahan went into his press conference today and told you guys, look, it was a numbers thing. This team has a lot of injuries. And obviously, when you're trying to trim some fat on the roster, the first place you're going to go is to the kicker if you have 2 kickers on the roster. I mean, common sense, people. That's my whole thing. Have a little common sense. And is it the end all be all? Is this kicking competition over? On one hand, sure, you can say that it's over because Jake Moody's still on the team. But Jake Moody is going to be competing against himself in these preseason games. So Jake Moody's competition is not over. The kicking competition between Moody and Greg Joseph may be over, sure. But Jake Moody is still competing against himself. And we all know how Jake Moody gets when the lights get bright. And when it's just him and his foot and the follow through on the kick, right? We know what happens with Jake Moody. So all I'm saying is just let it shake out. Let's see what happens in these preseason games. Because I can tell you right now, if Jake Moody goes out there on Saturday at Levi Stadium and let's say he misses his first kick, the boos will be so loud at Levi Stadium. It will be deafening. And the Niners will hear that. Trust and believe. The 49ers will hear that. So all I'm saying is let's play some real games before we really freak out about anything. Please, can we do that? Can we play some preseason games? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Let's see what else we got in the chat here. Big Brick 84 says, just means we need to focus more on scoring touchdowns than riding with field goals. Who knows? Moody may have a stellar year this year. Absolutely. I'm with you. I'm with you there. Let's see what else we have. Trying to scroll through the chat here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Big Brick 84. Not to mention all the 49ers fans with PTSD from last year's injuries, overreacting to the few minor injuries in camp. That's what I'm saying. It's just a lot of overreacting right now. A ton of overreacting. And I see Salvador dropping his ones. Thank you for tuning in, Salvador. Sorry I missed you a minute ago. But I just wanted to open up with that Jake Moody news real quick because that's just been kind of grinding my gears all day. Let's move on to some of the news of the day regarding the roster cuts that the 49ers made. They cut a bunch of players. They signed a bunch of players, and some of it was big news. Some of it was just filler camp bodies like we've talked about on this channel. Not every single move has to be overly scrutinized. Not every single move will win this team a Super Bowl or lose this team a Super Bowl, right? But let's talk about the moves that this team made today. The 49ers, in addition to releasing kicker Greg Joseph, also cut tight end Mason Pline, quarterback Tanner Mordecai, and wide receiver Isaiah Nair. The biggest name on that list, I guess, in terms of fan interest would be the wide receiver Isaiah Nair, 6'4", 220 pounds, looks the part, but obviously has not had the best training camp. He's made a couple of nice catches for sure, but it's all about production. And this team has seen players during training camp, guys like Russell Gage, players like Demarcus Robinson, um, Jordan Watkins has come on in recent practices. The wide receiver room suddenly doesn't look so thin. And some people were thinking early on in camp, maybe Isaiah Nair could potentially be that sixth wide receiver on the depth chart. But you have to ask yourself, does Isaiah Nair have any special teams ability? Can he contribute on special teams? Not to my knowledge. That, like, if they had him on the roster, I don't think it would be to play special teams, right? And this team is rebuilding their special teams unit. And a lot of times your fifth and sixth wide receivers have to have special teams ability. And Isaiah Nair, to me, does not strike me as that kind of player. And who's to say that they don't maybe bring him back to the practice squad at some point, or maybe if they have some injuries, maybe they bring him back, during the preseason. But am I pissed off that they cut Isaiah Nair? No. Is it a little curious to me that they cut some of these players before we've even played one preseason game? Yes. That's kind of odd to me. A guy like Isaiah Nair, who has flashed a lot of talent, I would think that they would want to at least get a look at him in one game, one preseason game, before they make any sort of rush to judgment. However, you have to remember, Isaiah Nair has been with the team every day during training camp and the offseason program. They have seen him several days. They've been with him in the meetings. They've seen him in every single practice. So the 49ers made that move kind of knowing that they have a vision for the back end of that wide receiver depth chart, and it does not include Isaiah Nair. So we'll see. Would I have liked to have seen him in a preseason game and kind of see what he has? Sure. But with all the injuries that this team has, especially at wide receiver, maybe retaining a guy like a Russell Gage, who has really kind of come on strong in 49ers camp, and has been a proven player in the NFL and obviously shown a quick rapport with Brock Purdy. That means a lot to me too. And so I understand why they cut Isaiah Nair, and I'm not particularly mad about it. We'll see. Tight end Mason Pline was finally cut today, and I know he's been a fan favorite of people that have kind of looked at players at the bottom end of the roster. But with signing Luke Farrell, bringing back Ross Dwelley, did anyone really think that Mason Pline had a shot to make this roster? I didn't. I didn't. He's a player who, at 6'8", basketball background, it looks like a nice red zone weapon, right? But how, is he a blocker? No, not particularly. Has he done enough to really stand out and make a roster spot? No, not particularly. So anyone that's upset about the Mason Pline thing, I don't know. It doesn't piss me off. It doesn't. It just doesn't. And then finally, quarterback Tanner Mordecai. This one was a little shocking because he's been with the 49ers for a little bit. He knows the system, right? But what did I tell you coming into training camp? I said Mac Jones is going to be quarterback 2 no matter what, no matter how poorly he plays. And he's actually been playing very well as Mac Jones during training camp. But he was going to beat out Tanner Mordecai. And they decided to move on from Mordecai. And the writing appears to be on the wall that this team's going to go into week 1 with only 2 quarterbacks on the active roster, and they will have an emergency third quarterback. And as of right now, that emergency third quarterback would be Carter Bradley, a player who they had on a tryout basis last week, who is the son of assistant defensive coach Gus Bradley on the 49ers staff. And as of right now, he is the 49ers third quarterback. But to me, he more or less really kind of fits the mold of a guy that you would want on the practice squad. They're going to give him some time to develop. They're going to, throw a bone to their assistant defensive coach, Gus Bradley, by letting his son, get some experience on the practice squad. At least that's how I read into it, and with Tanner Mordecai, like he's been on this team for a little bit now. I think he really wants a shot to try and make a team. So rather than have him back on the practice squad, you cut him loose and give him a shot to go and compete and play somewhere else. I don't think they did Mordecai dirty in that respect. I think they're giving him a chance to go out there and try and make a team somewhere else. Whereas if he was on the practice squad, if I'm Tanner Mordecai, do I really want to be on the practice squad? No, not really. I want a shot to really make the roster. And so maybe you'll see Tanner Mordecai pop up somewhere else, potentially. That's how I see it, But at the end of the day, I'm not shocked that they cut Tanner Mordecai, and I'm not worried about it either, because as of right now, it looks like this team's going to go into week 1 with 2 quarterbacks on the active roster in Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. Now, they also signed a handful of players today, including offensive lineman Isaiah Prince, formerly of the Cincinnati Bengals, cornerback Fabian Moreau, safety Jalen Mahoney, who the 49ers know, defensive lineman Bruce Hector, and former UFLer defensive lineman Bradley Anai. And Anai actually in practice today looked pretty effective from what I read on social media. He's an intriguing player, an intriguing prospect. But look, at the end of the day, if all these guys were cut in a matter of weeks, would I be shocked? No, I wouldn't. All those players have a very steep hill to climb to make this roster. They have not been with the team very long at all. Look, they need some bodies in camp. They need some bodies for the scrimmage with the Broncos on Thursday, and they need some bodies for these preseason games. Not every name is a make or break name. And I think Niner fans need to kind of remind themselves of that, because you have certain content creators who try to really hype up every single acquisition, every single signing just for the sake of making content. And that's not what it's about. You got to look at it with some common sense and what's really going on here. And, am I intrigued by Bradley and I? Sure. Am I intrigued potentially by Isaiah Prince? Sure. But if they get cut during the 90-man cut down at the end of preseason, am I going to be, freaking out? No, I'm not. So all I'm saying, everything I'm trying to get at here today so far, just use a little bit of common sense and don't overreact to everything so quickly. But that's all. I don't know. I just saw a lot of overreaction today to a lot of different things, and it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And so I wanted to get that off of my chest at the top of the show. Rick Diaz tuning in. He says, "What's going on, buddy? I like your hat. Go 49ers." Appreciate you, Rick. Thanks for tuning in, my guy. Big Brick 84 says, "Curtis Work will be QB3 over Bradley once he is healthy again." That's another possibility right there. Absolutely. Let's see. What else am I missing here in the live chat? Rob Johnson. JD, did you occasionally go on Chapman's channel? I have not been a guest on Chapman's channel, but I'm in the live chats. I'm in the live chats occasionally, yeah. But I have not been a guest on his channel. Definitely something I would like to work out. That'd be cool. That would be cool. Let's see if I missed anything else in this chat. No, I think we're good. Okay. We also had some concerning and also positive injury news today. So I want to go through some of the big ones with you guys. Kevin Givens, defensive tackle Kevin Givens, tore his pec or had a pec injury and will be out for a significant amount of time, likely out until at least mid-season. What did I tell you guys coming in to training camp? I told you there was a few positions that I wanted to see this team address heading into training camp because of my fear of how thin that they are. Defensive tackle being one of them. And now that Kevin Givens is out, you're looking at, Alfred Collins, who by all accounts has struggled up until this point of 49ers training camp. CJ West, the fellow rookie who has definitely been one of the stars of training camp. But then you have Jordan Elliott, you have Evan Anderson, who right now has a knee bruise and has been missing practice. This team is very thin at defensive tackle. And now with Kevin Givens out for a significant amount of time, I really hope to see the 49ers go after a veteran interior defensive lineman. You can't rely on mainly rookies on the interior to start this year. And if you have one more injury on the interior of your defensive line, you are going to be in trouble. So I want to see the Niners go out and address defensive tackle on the veteran free agent market, or maybe at the cut down when teams are trying to, get under the 53-man roster limit, and maybe someone of value shakes free there. But the injury news there on Kevin Givens is not ideal. Next on the injury list, running back Isaac Guerendo is hurt yet again. He was hurt in high school. He was hurt in college. He's been hurt with the 49ers. He is hurt again with a shoulder injury, although a little more positive there in terms of the outlook, as he's only expected to miss a few weeks. But still, the Niners, I don't think the Niners are going to necessarily rely on Christian McCaffrey to stay healthy all year. They have to go into this season kind of anticipating that McCaffrey may miss time at some point, and you were hoping to see Isaac Guerendo really take that next step, and now to see him, injured, and he'll be missing a large chunk of the preseason when he's really trying to lock down that RB2 job and show this team that he is durable and really headed for a breakout season. That's concerning to me, especially with Jordan James, who had been dealing with a knee injury last week. Rookie Jordan James, he did return to practice today, so that is good. But suddenly, how do we feel about this running back room? Jordan James has already been dealing with injuries. Isaac Guerendo is dealing with an injury right now. Patrick Taylor Jr. At one point looked to be kind of the odd man out, but now suddenly he might have a chance to make this roster because he's been healthy. The injuries with Guerendo are concerning to me. He seems like a very special athlete, but in the NFL, I need a running back. I don't need an athlete. I need a guy who is durable and can stay healthy. And I hope this is not indicative of things to come with Isaac Guerendo, but so far we have seen that he has not been able to live up has not been able to deal with the physicality, the pounding of the National Football League. And I'm excited to see Guerendo play this year, and I was excited to see him in the preseason. Absolutely. So this is a blow. That's a bummer to hear that Guerendo has an injury. On a more positive note, fullback Kyle Juszczyk, who left practice last week with what was called an Achilles injury, which was concerning. It sounds like all that happened there was that someone stepped on his Achilles, and he's day-to-day. He'll be fine. So that's good news there for the longtime 49ers fullback. Safety Jair Brown, aggravated the ankle injury that he had surgery on a couple of months ago. Not good. Again, safety being one of those spots where the Niners are exceptionally thin. Was hoping to see Jair Brown, go out there this preseason. I believe I heard Kyle Shanahan say that they're going to try and get Jair Brown back out there at practice later this week. Hopefully that's the case. Will he play this weekend? I doubt it. I don't think they're going to throw him out there for this first preseason game if he's not 100% right. But I want to see Jair Brown get some snaps in the preseason. Make me feel good about you, Jair, because more than likely you're going to be the starter going into week one. So to hear that you are dealing with some ankle, soreness or re-aggravation of that injury where you had surgery, not good. Not good. But hopefully he does get back on the field this week. And then, like I mentioned, Jordan James, the rookie 5th-round running back, did return to practice today after missing some days last week. So that is good news as well. So there we are with the news and notes from today, where we're talking about the roster moves, talking about some of the injuries, and just the overreaction to a ton of stuff. I just feel like there's a lot of overreaction, and people need to exercise a little more common sense, especially when it comes to stuff like the kicker. Just because they cut Greg Joseph does not mean Jake Moody's job is safe. Jake Moody can go out there this weekend and shit the bed completely, and they will have to move on, or at least, really start entertaining the idea. A lot can happen. Football games will be played before we get to week one. So just relax a little bit. That's all I'm saying. A lot of overreaction. Let's see what we got going on in the chat. I see some bickering and arguing in the chat here. Whatever. No biggie. Okay, let's move on to another topic that I want to get into today because this was interesting coming out of Kyle Shanahan's press conference today down there in Santa Clara. Kyle Shanahan was asked by the media about Juwan Jennings and his calf injury and the severity of the calf injury and whether or not it was truly health related or was Juwan Jennings or is Juwan Jennings' absence from 49ers practice business related? And Kyle Shanahan gave an interesting answer. If you watched it live, if you saw the facial expressions on Kyle Shanahan, if you listen to the tone in his voice, you won't really glean anything from it. He didn't really give you much in terms of body language, facial expressions, the way that he said it. But if you listen to the actual words that he said, it's kind of telling. It's a little telling to me. Asked about whether or not Juwan Jennings' calf injury was health related or business related, Kyle Shanahan said this: "You could ask him about that, but he tells me it's his calf. Got to be delicate with those calves." To me, and I'm not the one who wants to try and make something out of nothing. I'm not the one trying to drum up content for clicks. But to me, got to be delicate with those calves kind of tells me that Juwan Jennings is fine. We don't have anything to worry about. It's sort of a pseudo hold in without it actually being called a hold in. Uh, you know, Kyle Shanahan knows that Juwan Jennings could be out there. And instead of saying something in his presser that could have been misconstrued or can potentially have been blown up into something bigger, Kyle Shanahan just said, ask Juwan about it. Ask Juwan about it. I know he's got a calf injury. He said it was his calf. We gotta be delicate with those calves. He tiptoed around it. Kyle Shanahan did. He didn't go out and say, talk to Juwan. I don't know. I think he could be out there. Kyle Shanahan didn't say it, but what he did say was talk to Juwan about it. Ask Juwan his thoughts, whether or not it's business related or truly health related. And it's what Kyle Shanahan said to me was extremely, extremely telling. So for those of you that are worried about Juwan Jennings' status heading into week one, as long as there's a new contract in place, Juwan Jennings is going to be out there week one. I have no qualms about that. I'm not worried about that one bit. And then to take it a step further, former 49ers cornerback Richard Sherman appeared on his podcast, which I believe came out either today or recently. And Richard Sherman had some thoughts on the Juwan Jennings calf injury and the potential, hold-in that could be taking place, even though it's not being called a hold-in. Richard Sherman, he mentioned that, he could see that Juwan Jennings' calf injury kind of miraculously, mysteriously just kind of clears up once there's a new deal in place, and someone in our live chat the last couple of weeks mentioned the same thing. Like once pen goes to paper, pardon me, once pen goes to paper and Juwan has that new contract that he's been looking for, watch out for Juwan to just be fully healthy and ready to go. And he'll be back out there at practice, smiling, dancing, good old same Juwan that Niner fans know and love. And Richard Sherman saying that as a former player who knows how these things go, not to mention Richard Sherman knows players in the building still. He knows coaches and players in the building. Richard Sherman was out there at 49ers practice today, for crying out loud. When Richard Sherman says something like, once Juwan gets his new contract, I'm sure his calf injury will be, fully healed. That's kind of telling. So if anyone's worried about Juwan Jennings' calf injury, don't be. I think that's all going to be taken care of in time. And I think that Juwan Jennings will be on the roster healthy and ready to go for week one up in Seattle. But I did just kind of find that interesting today, coming out of Kyle Shanahan's press conference after practice. I think Rob Johnson. Rob Johnson says, JD, I know why you look familiar, maybe. Joe Lenore tailgates. You got it. I'm there, man. I'm there at Joe's tailgates every week. Season ticket holder. been hanging out with Joe, tailgating with Joe, and the Niner Empire tailgate since Candlestick. So yeah, I'm out there at Joe's tailgates, man. Not sure who you are based on your profile, but if you see me out there at Joe's tailgates, say what's up. I'm out there all the time. That's funny that you mentioned that. I just wanted to say that real quick. Let's see what else we got in the live chat. I see you guys saying some things here. Big Brick 84 says, after saying Pearsall would have been practicing with his hammy last year, I agree with you, JD. That's all I'm saying is Juwan will be fine. Juwan will be fine, guys. Not worried about it. Once that deal gets done, he will be good to go. Papa J says JD is 100 on JJ. Yeah, absolutely. I think Juwan Jennings will be just fine. I'm not worried about it. Rob again says, hell yeah, we have to meet from Ohio. Cool, man. Yeah, I'm out there at Joe's tailgates, man. I'll be out there home opener against the Arizona Cardinals. So if you're out there or whatever game you're out there, I'm sure I'll be there. So look for me. But yeah, I wanted to just touch on the Juwan Jennings thing real quick because I really thought that was interesting coming out of Kyle Shanahan's presser today, like I mentioned. And then the last topic that I want to get to before we get out of here today, because look, like I said, I'm at the point that I don't want to overanalyze every little thing coming out of 49ers practice every single day. I'll leave that to the people that are actually down there in Santa Clara with their eyes on practice and who want to do that sort of thing. If I was down there every day, I would definitely give you my thoughts. And I've given you a lot of my thoughts based on what's transpired down in practice for most of camp so far. But, I just want to kind of talk about some real topics at this point, especially with the joint practices with the Denver Broncos on Thursday, the 49ers playing in their first preseason game on Saturday. It's time to really get to football. And I think day in, day out, minute updates from practice aren't going to mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things outside of injury updates. Look, we know who's who at this point. For the most part, there's going to be some depth guys, some back end of the roster guys. There may be a little turnover there, a little maneuvering there, but for the most part, we know what's going on with this team at this point. And once games get going, we're really going to have a firm idea, that we're really going to know, because players can look great in practice, right? But what are they going to do in real games? That's what it's all about to me. And so I'm looking forward to this preseason. Considering this team is so much younger than in years past. So this preseason is going to be extremely educational and very entertaining, very fun to watch. Like, all these preseason games are going to matter in a big, big way. And I'm excited for them. And I have a little bit of camp fatigue at this point, a little bit of overreaction fatigue at this point. I don't care about camp stats. I don't. And every roster move, it doesn't make or break this team right now. So let's just have some games get played, and then we can make some grand assumptions or predictions based on what we see in these preseason games. That's all I'm saying. But one last topic I want to get into today before we get out of here. All of a sudden, you're seeing everybody has a love affair with wide receiver Ricky Pearsall. Everyone's saying, oh man, Ricky Pearsall looks like the best wide receiver on the field, guys. Ricky Pearsall is just so clean in and out of his breaks. He's so quick. He's got good hands. He's built a great chemistry with Brock Purdy. He looks like the man. Ricky Pearsall, barring injury, he's going to be the 49ers' best wide receiver this year. Who's been saying that for the last 6 to 8 months? I've been on this channel telling you guys for months now that Ricky Pearsall is by far and away going to be the 49ers' top wide receiver this year. So, there's certain people who I've seen, oh man, Ricky Pearsall, whoa, like he's just blowing my mind right now. Where have you been? Ricky Pearsall, I told you guys all offseason, out of everyone on this 49ers team, I am more excited about the development of Ricky Pearsall than any other player on this roster. I've been saying it since January. And so to see it now, to see the overreaction from a lot of people is just funny to me. I don't know. Like, are we watching the same thing? Like, I saw enough from Ricky Pearsall last year. And I keep up with Ricky Pearsall in the offseason and how he's training and what he's doing, right? And I've liked everything that I've seen from Ricky. My only concern with Ricky Pearsall is the injury factor. Can he stay healthy? Barring injury, Ricky Pearsall will lead this team in receptions. He will lead this team in receiving yards, barring injury. I'm not going to go out there and say touchdowns necessarily, because I think a guy like George Kittle is going to have a lot to say about that. But Ricky Pearsall is going to lead this team in receiving this year. I've been saying it for months now. If you go back on the channel, I have streams about it. I have videos about it. I have been on the Ricky Pearsall hype train since the draft. And it's just funny to me that, like, everyone's freaking out about it down there at training camp right now. Like, what did you expect to happen? Did you not watch him? Have you not been paying attention? Ricky Pearsall, his skill set fits Brock Purdy to a T. He gets off the line quickly. He creates separation in an instant. He can cut on a dime and give you 2 cents change, and he gets open. And who is the quarterback's best friend? A guy that can get open like that. And he excels in the short to intermediate areas of the field. He can certainly get downfield if you need him to, but he excels in the short to intermediate quick game. And what does Brock Purdy excel at? The short to intermediate quick game. So seeing all these reports about Ricky Pearsall, it doesn't shock me. It doesn't. And I'm not trying to act like arrogant or cocky, but all I'm saying is, like, come on. Like, pay attention. I knew this was coming. You know, the only thing I worry about with Ricky Pearsall is injuries. That's it. If he's healthy, he is going to ball out this year, and I've been telling you that since last season ended. So, you know, I'm sure that those of you that have been watching my streams can remember all the times that I have mentioned Ricky Pearsall and how excited I am to see his development this year. So to hear that he is balling out in practice does not shock me. And one more thing. Last week, and I guess in the previous weeks as well, there's a lot of talk about Ricky Pearsall. Oh, why is Ricky Pearsall not participating in one-on-ones? What are they protecting him from? Why are they hiding him? What does it mean? Why does he not in one-on-ones? Well, he's only out there in team drills. Last I checked, football is played 11-on-11. And when they line up on Sundays to kick the ball off and play the games, it's 11-on-11. And during team drills, Ricky Pearsall has been out there. Has he not? And he's been playing well. Has he not? So why are we over-analyzing and worrying about one-on-one drills with Ricky Pearsall? He's coming off of a hamstring injury. They are easing him in. They are being cautious. They are making sure that he is healthy and ready to go for week 1. Why is that a bad thing? And not to mention, he participated in one-on-ones today and cooked everybody. So I hope you're happy now. I hope you got all those people that have been trying to drum up that stuff for content and clicks. I hope you're happy, because Ricky Pearsall went out there on one-on-ones and played well. Bravo. I don't know. I just feel some type of way today. The overreaction, the overanalyzation of stuff, the paralysis by analysis, I just kind of had enough of it today. And I'm just happy that we have real football to talk about this weekend when the preseason kicks off for the Niners. I'm happy that they have a joint practice with the Denver Broncos on Thursday. I'm happy that football is finally here, guys. And I'm looking forward to this season in a big, big way. And Ricky Pearsall is definitely at the top of my list of players who I'm looking forward to watching week in, week out this year, who I expect to contribute in a big, big way. And I'm excited. I'm absolutely excited. Big Brick 84. Pearsall and Cowing putting in that extra credit work with Purdy. Hope they all stay healthy and have a big year. Papa J says, yeah, JD, he looks great, referring to Ricky Pearsall. So I don't know. I just wanted to get some stuff off my chest today, really. That was kind of the purpose of today's stream, because a lot of things just kind of happened today that just kind of set me off a little bit. I felt some type of way. So I appreciate you guys for bearing with me. We will be back tomorrow live here on this same channel, 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you have your notifications on so you know exactly when we go live. And if you are interested in bonus content and you are interested in behind the scenes stuff, monthly giveaways, and really if you want to help support the channel, if you enjoy the content that we provide and you want to just show some love, because I've been out here grinding, this off season and training camp, check out our Patreon. All that information is down below in the ticker and the description box, patreon.com/keepingthefaith. I would appreciate anyone who decides to sign up and become a Patreon member. We have some big things coming this year, and I want you guys to all be a part of it. We have fun over there on the Patreon, so I would love to see you guys all there. I will catch all of you tomorrow, same channel, same time, and let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see what people freak out about tomorrow. I'll catch you guys later. Go Niners.